CTO, and today we will be presenting you the story of how we accidentally developed the web-based platform to handle MATsim. Also known as something else, we used today's slides by Kai. So he mentioned that when you work with a demand, you use something else. When you run MATsim, you also can use something else. And with analysis, it's also possible to use something else. So this is something else. So I will show you the agenda for the speech. So we first will talk about our team, introduce ourselves. We will talk about why we built Replan.city. We will then proceed with the demo, which will show you how you can work with MATsim scenarios and your own scenarios easily. And then in the end, a couple of power user features, and then the introduction. That's how you can share it with the community.
Remember, you still have 15 minutes.
Perfect. So our team has more than 8 years of experience building MATsim models. We built more than 40 of them. You saw us from time to time at MATsim user meetings, but we were not doing research, but rather actually commercial implementation of MATsim. Sometimes we used it for redesigning the public transit system. Sometimes there was some crazy global scenarios and integrating MATsim as part of a decision support system in a commercial settings. And then in the end, right now we're also working with Moya in Hamburg to build a simulation for them, with Abu Dhabi Port to build a global cargo simulation for them. So we're still doing this commercial project with MATsim. And as a result of this, we came up with Replan. So this is how we used MATsim most of the time in a commercial project. So we were using all of this stuff that probably you also use today to prepare for the simulation, for the presentations, to prepare the slides, to calculate, to prepare demand, and so on. And the idea is simple, just to unify all of this in one software. And this is what Replan is trying to achieve. And here, the short demo that we will show you today. It starts with the creation or uploading the MATsim scenario that you already have, editing a scenario, running in the cloud, and analyzing the results, and then creating some custom stuff that I will talk about later. So I will be talking, and Jaro will be showing some live demo. If in case something is not working, we also have videos, but I hope we would not resort to that.
Because of internet?
Yes, only because of the internet connection with ETH, obviously. So starting with Replan, you have web interface. We create an instance for you. You can have multiple users with different access rights, and each user has access to a certain number of models that he or she handles. And then the next step would be to create or upload a new scenario. So this is what we're gonna do. Something that was always missing in MATsim for me, for myself, I'm only speaking about myself because I know that there are so many tools developed by you, by the community, that I definitely don't know about something that is already existing. But still, compared to Sumo, which had this nice wizard to create open data scenario that was missing in MATsim, so this is why we've done this one. And what you see here, we are using Codebus as an example, as it's always used in MATsim. To create a scenario based on the OpenStreetData and publicly available GTFS. So here we're selecting the area where we want to focus. Can you see? I think
yes.
That's okay. Maybe we can switch to the experimental light theme, but I would not try it live right now. So basically we selected the area we want to focus on, and in the background we're downloading the source data either from internet directly, from OpenStreetMaps, for instance, or from the cache data, as we do in this case. And as the network transit schedule layers are downloaded and ready to use, you can see them in an interface, and you can start interacting with them. But it comes next first. Let's go further. From here on, basic editing. So when we have a scenario, we want to edit it, we want to create the policy cases. This is also something that we wanted to do quickly because we also have a lot of engineers that we work with, and they want to have their own network editor, for instance, this is what Java is doing now. So we can create, for instance, the new link, name it, and then specify the parameters of the link, and we also have this snapping, so you can.
Don't be so fast.
Yeah,
let me just create this new road.
Yeah. So yeah, you can draw the new links. You can snap them to the existing nodes, and then there are two ways to interact with it. You can either use the simplified version, where an engineer can just specify the speed limit, for instance, or you can go in advanced mode and specify the tolls and all other possible stuff.
Capacities, free speeds.
Capacities and free speeds, how we think about MATsim scenarios. Then you can go to the transit schedule scenario editor and also either edit the existing lines or create the new one. Specify the direction, specify the transit.
Really fast.
So you can specify the direction and create the sequence of stops for this route. You can also specify, let's not go too far, otherwise it might crash. I'm joking. Yeah, it's enough stops.
Okay. Also.
Yeah, then you can specify the intervals or the specific departures for the day. And just like this, you have the new route in MATsim, and you can basically start with the policy key simulation. Another thing that we've noticed a lot in the community now, that all of you are working with shared modes, with car sharing, BRT, micromobility, and we've introduced the shared mobility zone editor. So once again, we just draw the zone, and then you can specify what kind of service do you have. You can specify the pricing model. This is the standard MATsim parameters here, but you can extend them as well. The number of vehicles that you have in the zone, capacities, working times, and so on. And after saving this one, you can basically say that now it's my policy case, and you can basically press the run simulation button, and with one click we will launch the simulation. So what is happening here now? We do have two instances for this particular user, and now when we click the button, we create the new Google Cloud instance just for this specific run, and when it's done, we have the new one, exactly, and it will be only used for the duration of calculations, and after that it will be closed to save money. Yes, so while it is calculating, we all know that it might take a bit longer time in MATsim to simulate, so we will jump to the pre-calculated one. We've calculated this one today, and show you a couple of things that you can do in an analysis. So here we have the basic GIS layers prepared, like you can see the public transit accessibility, or OD flows, as the how do you call it? As the dome effect. You can also see where do people go from a specific public transit stop, and here on the right side we have it connected with the basic dashboards about like how many vehicles or people are using this particular bus stop. Then you can also do the same for the network or the public transit lines, not only stops, if the internet allows it, obviously, and the same can be also done for the road links. Yeah, for the split moments, you could see that public transit lines function as well. Yeah, exactly. So all of the stuff that is sometimes needed to analyze the scenario on the go. But you can always go full screen with dashboards, and I know that there are a couple of implementation of dashboards as well, so this is one of them. And what I really like about them is that they have these cross-filtering functions, and you can, for instance, select the statistics about public transit, and then you can have, you definitely cannot see it, but there are a couple of predefined presets. For instance, we can say what are the people who have to wait for the 10 minutes or more at the bus station when they're executing their plans, and here you will filter all of this data on to see only these people. You can see where they live. You can see what are the stops with the most delays for the passengers, and so on, or the most waiting times for the passengers. How much time do we have? Okay, the 10 minutes. It's more than enough. Otherwise,
We have time for questions.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I know it would be many of them. I hope so. So then let us show you the OD flows, for instance. This is something that you can also visualize wherever people go. And you can focus on a particular area of the map if you want, and only filter the trips that are starting from this particular area. All of these layers that we have there and all of these dashboards are customizable, and as we always do in some integration projects with MATsim, we speak with the customer and understand what exactly do they want to visualize. To move back a little bit, so what we've shown so far was probably these two types of users. So the first one is a viewer, is just someone or a stakeholder or a general public that you want to share the MATsim results with. They cannot change anything, cannot edit scenarios or launch them. They can only see some predefined pages that you have prepared. Mobility planner is someone who we actually made the system for in the first place, because we want to make MATsim available not just for the research community, but actually for the broader public, for mobility planners, and this is the stuff that we've shown so far. And then there is the super user stuff, where you can actually, we understand that we have to make the system as expandable and as customizable as possible. So under the hood we have this, this is the one slide that Yara prepared.
It's one slide.
So yeah, we do have this user interface and system of data storage in the cloud. Then we also have this expandable solver. So what you can use, you can either use what is coming by default in MATsim or in Replan. I don't understand this slide either. Sorry, you have to.
Yeah, it's simple. So you can use default solver, just uploading your packed jar file. It's some extendable class. It's for solving, for calibrating, for post-processing. It's suitable. And this one is for fast operations, like for example handlers, which is not so heavy demand for resources. And for this we use Google functions and kind of Lambda functions, and it's cheaper. So the main point here is in this way, so you just can extend two classes and create your own solvers, so you can put any MATsim project inside our system. So it's kind of, we only provide you data management and post-processing, but you can create your additional files, you can put your additional files. It's back office UI for MATsimers. It's not so fancy as previous, but it's functional. So you can upload your own jar file, you can add your own layers, and you can do it here a lot to extend functionality. So the main idea was not to limit yours, because for me, as for MATsim guy, for me, this freedom of creating some fancy stuff, it was always like the main idea of MATsim for me, not only activity-based stuff. Yeah.
So yeah, we are actually at the stage where we are happy to share with you and get some feedback from you. The only catch is that all of this, since all of this runs in the cloud, we cannot provide it for free. So we've prepared basically two subscriptions for MATsim user meetings that will be available from today. The first one is academic, the second one is commercial. It provides you a hot seat, the one person who can simultaneously work in Replan, unlimited scenarios and runs, and the only additional payments will be for the computation resources if you choose to use them. Obviously, you can use your own computation power. Yeah, so we are inviting you or anyone interested to just test what we've developed. As I said, we've developed it for ourselves, and we are really happy to get some feedback from you guys if you want to maybe involve your own customers or your own partners in the projects with MATsim scenarios.
Where is your marketing slogan, like from MATsimers to MATsimers?
I don't know. I haven't heard one. Yeah. So I hope we have some time.
Fine.
for questions.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot. Very impressive. Kai?
Yeah, thanks a lot. Very impressive. I have a question for this Cottbus scenario. Where do you get the demand from? Which means people traveling from A to B.
Oh, it's kind of automatically generated demand from contour data. We use this land use data and some additional stuff, so we have this automated algorithm to create the simple
I think
comparison.
we're following for the most part, we're following Berlin open scenario methodology, but since it's open data, you don't always have, for instance, the counts to calibrate with cadets.
So
But
it's
if you
essentially,
do, you can
it's
use
a
it.
toy example.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
absolutely.
It's better than that actually. Then. So you have activity chains then.
Yes. Mhm.
Good. Michi?
Then I can load my own Berlin model
Yes.
Mhm.
in it,
Yeah.
which has 3.5 million agents and 200,000 links, and I don't know how many public transport lines.
We've
And
just
I want to do an analysis. How long I have to wait?
We just need to check, but generally we have this clusterization approach. So it's generally we need to check. So for sure we didn't try this stuff before. In terms of computation, you can upload your own jar file inside, and it will be managed, and the resources you need will be allocated because it's a property. Just what amount of resources should be allocated, because it's Google Cloud, and generally we have quite big quotas there, so we can use it. In terms of map visualization, for sure we used a lot of modern technologies like NoSQL data storage and special semantic layers to optimize this mid processing, caching the data, because it was really tough task to visualize our MATsim data. This event-based data is because usually we store all at this level of granularity, and you can see that there we have these slices of time, and because of that we must store it in this way and process with the modern big data technologies. So it's a discussion, but I cannot answer you. Yeah, everything will work great because it will be live. Generally, we can try. So it's interesting to try such stuff.
Pretty nice.
How will you infer the required instance size on Google or AWS, for instance, if you are simulating? If the user is uploading something, you need to estimate on which machine size you need to run it.
Yeah, it's a pretty interesting task because we have basic rule of thumb based on pre-analysis of plans. I don't remember definite numbers, it's kind of based on it. And we have this idea of 3 turns, like when we start the scenario, if it's failed, and for example because of memory, the heap can be increased, so it's kind of option just to make it a little bit elastic. It's tricky, yeah, it's also tricky stuff, but it's interesting to solve. I think we spent a lot of time to solve initially basic MATsim issues with the data formats to make it robust, because all of us here, we are MATsimers, and we feel good with this dealing of some problems with the data formats, but we also want to make it accessible, to make MATsim and this approach accessible to ordinary users. And I think that the next 2-3 months we will spend by also testing a lot with engineers, because it's little bit side stuff, but they have a lot of good ideas how to improve, for example, infrastructure editing, like road infrastructure editing, public transit editing. It's also important stuff for us. Of course, it's a big software generally. We made it in a quite small team. Yeah.
Good. One last question.
So, if I understand the pricing correctly, it's I think you provide the computational resource
Yes.
as part of it. So, you know, as great it is to have unlimited potential resource from you guys with a fixed price, I think.
Not by fixed.
Okay, so that's good. That was one of the questions. Is it possible to use your tool as an interface and bring our own virtual machine background and just have our machinery and background, the server and everything, but yours at the interface so that we can interact with the policymakers? Or no, it's all packaged together?
No, this is the simplest part. So in terms of huge computational resources for computing, not for providing this post-processing, but for computing, it's easily separatable, so we just need to implement this connection to the Slurm cluster of your own machine somehow, or create the new instance in general. So it's a little bit, okay, it's not so easy as just provide your username and password and start to use it with our computational resources, but yeah, it's possible.
With that positive note, let's conclude here and go down for the final close.
I was a little bit nervous. It is our first time of presenting.